Hey guys, just a quick one for the how-to playlist. I'll put it on the how-to playlist because if you're going to live in Japan you might encounter this one. I just had a neighbour turn up here and give me a present. Give me this present here. And it's because he's about to do some construction work at his house and it's going to be a little bit noisy. So he had a big plastic bag full of these presents and he's going around all the other neighbours and giving everybody a present. And there wasn't any actual explanation. It was just he turned up and he said, "Cold weather, isn't it? Here's a small thing that doesn't really mean anything," and handed me this present, and I said some polite stuff and then he left and went on to the next neighbour. But we all know that he's about to do some construction work. That's what the present's for. And when we first moved into this house, we did a similar thing. We had a present too that actually had a special piece of paper on it that says "Go Aisatsu," which is like the great meeting. And it's sort of like "pleased to meet you." Go Aisatsu. It's not really like "pleased to meet you." It sort of translates like the great meeting, but it's about, the meeting or meeting you. And then it said our name. It said our name down this piece of paper, and we went round to all the neighbours, everybody that was sort of within the one or two houses of us, or all the way around at the back as well, and we gave each of them turned up at the doorstep, ping pong, and said to them, "Chotto, excuse me a moment," and then we just gave them the present and told them that we'd moved into the old house and nice to meet you, and then moved on to the next neighbour and gave them a present too. And it's standard. When I used to live in my apartment, I was the first one to move into the apartment complex, and I'd only been in Japan for a few months, and I moved into the apartment complex, and I was the first one. It was a new block of apartments, and I was the first person to move in there. And every week or so, some people I didn't know would turn up at the doorstep and hand me a present and say "pleased to meet you" and walk away. And it happened a few times before I caught on what was happening, and it was actually people that were moving into the apartments, the neighbouring apartments, and that were coming to introduce themselves and to give me a present as a sort of a greeting or a meeting present, "pleased to meet you" present. And we'll also do it sometimes if we do something. So like the neighbour did it because he's about to start some construction, he knows it's going to disturb everybody. Also, if someone has a baby, when I was in the apartment complex, one of the neighbours did it once because they'd had a new baby that had just come home from the hospital and they knew it was going to be crying a lot. So they went around to all the neighbours and gave everybody a present. So probably some of you are wondering, what's in the packet? Haven't opened it yet. I'm betting it's washing powder, because in Japan, often in situations like this, washing powder. So often in situations like this, people give each other useful gifts. So washing powder is a common one. Clothes washing powder is a very common one. Tissues is another one, because it's a token present, So, and also in Japan, presents like this are really popular. So, washing powder, tissues. Quite often, if it's something a little bit more something a bit more special, then it starts to be food. And I've actually covered that before somewhere, I think, on the how-to playlist. I think I covered that one already on the food and eating playlist maybe, but food's another one where people often give people these sorts of presents, and it'll be mochi or it'll be some sort of tasty snack food or something like that. So it's practical. It's because in Japan space is an issue. People aren't into having lots of token stuff on the walls or on the shelves or on the mantelpiece or anything like that. So things that are just sort of going to be put in a cupboard somewhere are just not useful, and they're just jammer. They're just a nuisance more than anything else. So practical gifts like this, washing powder and tissues and things like that, are an excellent gift. I've got to say, when I first came to Japan, I used to find it a little bit unusual to get given things like this, but it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant to be given washing powder or tissues or toilet paper, sometimes toilet paper, big packets of toilet paper, 6 rolls or something. And it does seem a bit strange at first, but it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, because You know, things like this. If someone doesn't give it to you, you've got to go buy it sooner or later. And if you end up with a few of these in the cupboard, that's fine. You know, to be honest, I can't remember the last time I bought washing powder, because this is what happens. You know, people turn up and give it to you for different things. So there's other ones as well, and I think I've covered on another one on the playlist somewhere is gifts. This is a slightly different thing, but if somebody dies, or if there's something like that, they'll turn up and give little envelopes of money, but that's starting to overlap into a different category. So this is a different one with the Neighbours. So anyway, if you come to live in Japan, this is what you can expect. It depends. It does depend. Sometimes in the big cities, in apartment buildings in the big cities, it doesn't happen so much. This is old style, so we're living in a pretty old style, or a very old style town, and in a very old style part of the old town. So all our neighbours here are sort of older people who are sort of old and traditional, so this sort of stuff's full on. But yeah, you'd probably find if you lived in a big city somewhere, in an apartment building, it might not happen. But now at least if it does happen, if someone turns up and gives you some gift wrapped washing powder, you won't be so surprised. Hope you found that a little bit interesting. More videos coming soon.